Hello students, last time we have dealt with the utility of the quantum number and we have also learned that what are the two initial quantum numbers, that is principal quantum number and azimuthal quantum number. With the help of these two quantum numbers we can come to know that what is the shell and the subshell of a particular electron belonging from a fixed atom. Now we will be talking that how we can come to know about the orbital and the spin of this electron, and these two are indicated by the rest two kinds of quantum numbers. Out of these, I am going to start with the very first one, that is called magnetic quantum number. This magnetic quantum number is denoted by the symbol small m. And if I talk about that who introduced this magnetic quantum number very first, then it was introduced by Zeeman. He introduced this magnetic quantum number very first. Now this magnetic quantum number, each value of this magnetic quantum number represents the orbital present in a subshell. As we know that orbital is defined as a three-dimensional space around the nucleus where the finding probability of an electron is maximum. And this orbital, it is indicated by a magnetic quantum number. Now, as we talk about this point, that each value of m, it indicates the orbital, and the value of m, what will be the range for this? It is decided by the azimuthal quantum number, that is the quantum number that we have learned last time. For the given value of L, the values of m may be from minus L to plus L, including 0. Like here, if I talk about the L is equals to 0, that is the minimum possible value of this L. If L is equals to 0 there, the values of M will be minus 0 to plus 0, that is only 0 here. So only one value of magnetic quantum number is possible here. Since only one value of magnetic quantum number is possible here, we can say that this L is equals to 0, that indicates S subshell. It contains only one orbital. Now if I talk about the next subshell, that is p subshell, which has the value of azimuthal quantum number 1, the possible values of m will be minus 1, 0 and plus 1. Since here we are getting three values of this magnetic quantum number, this p subshell, it will be containing three orbitals that are having minus 1, 0 or plus 1 values for this magnetic quantum number. Now let's move to the d subshell with the azimuthal quantum number 2. The possible values of magnetic quantum number for this d subshell will be minus 2, minus 1, 0, plus 1 and plus 2. Like this, it can have possible 5 values of this magnetic quantum number. Resultant, this d subshell can accommodate maximum 5 orbitals. If we talk about the next shell, that is next subshell, that is F subshell, with the azimuthal quantum number 3, here the possible values of magnetic quantum number will be minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, it's 0, plus 1, plus 2 and plus 3. Here we can see that their total possible 7 values are there for this magnetic quantum number, and since each value of magnetic quantum number indicates one orbital, that is why this F subshell having the azimuthal quantum number 3 contains total 7 orbitals. If we talk about the geometry of these orbitals, then this S orbital, it is spherical in shape. So S orbital is spherical in shape. Like if I am going to draw X, Y and Z axis here. So this one is X axis, Y axis and Z axis here. So being spherical in geometry, it's non-directional and it will be indicated by this. So that's about the S orbital. Now let's move to the next orbital, that is p orbital. This p orbital is dumbbell shape. since it has dumbbell shape, so it contains two lobes. Each p orbital contains two lobes, and according to the orientation of these lobes, like in which axis these are oriented, this p orbital can be divided in three types, that is of three types: px, py and pz. If these two lobes are oriented on x-axis like this one is the x-axis here, and these are the two lobes of this p orbital, so they are oriented here. So since these two lobes of p orbital of this dumbbell are oriented on this x-axis, this p orbital is termed as px orbital. Now on the other hand, if again I draw the axis here, this one is x-axis and this one is y-axis, and now this time these two lobes, if they are oriented on this y-axis, so the representation will be like this, and this kind of representation indicates py orbital. If I move to the next one, when these lobes are oriented towards z-axis, so this one is the z-axis here, and if these two lobes are oriented like this, then this kind of notification, when these two lobes are oriented towards z-axis, this kind of orientation is of pz orbital. So as we have seen initially, that this p subshell contains three orbitals, -1, 0 and plus, with the magnetic quantum number -1, 0 and +1. Here we have seen that these three p orbitals will be termed as px, py and pz according to the orientation of these lobes in the axis. Out of these three, this pz has the fixed value of magnetic quantum number. Whenever this pz will be introduced, it will be having fixed magnetic quantum number, and the value will be 0 here. Out of this px and py, no one has a certain magnetic quantum number. The px, it may have sometime the value of magnetic quantum number as +1, while sometime it can have the magnetic quantum number as -1. Same for this py orbital, it can have the value of magnetic quantum number as ±1. So the values of magnetic quantum number for px and py orbital, it's not certain, while for this pz orbital it's certain, the value will be 0. Now let's move to the next orbital, that is d orbital. Since this d subshell contains 5 orbitals, these 5 d orbitals are designated by the symbols as dxy orbital, dyz orbital, dxz orbital. The name of the next d orbital is dx square dash y square orbital, and the last one d orbital is dz square. If we talk about the geometry of these orbitals, then all these d orbitals are double dumbbell shape, means all of these d orbital, each of these d orbital will be containing 4 lobes. Now according to the orientation of these orbitals, these double dumbbells, these are designated as dxy, dyz, dxz, dx square dash y square or dz square. Like for example, if I talk about the geometry of the dxz, then here these 4 lobes are originated or oriented between the axis of x and z. If I consider this one is the x-axis and this one is the z-axis here, so the 4 lobes of this d orbital will be oriented between these two axes. The orientation will be like this. That is the first lobe, second lobe, it's the third lobe, and this one is the fourth lobe. And all these 4 lobes are oriented between the axis. They are not on the axis. So this is about the geometry of dxz orbital. Now if I talk about the next one, that is dyz, it again shows the same it again shows the same manner like we have seen in dxz. The difference is here these two axes will be y and z instead of x and z, and the arrangement of these 4 lobes will be between the axes like this. Now if I talk about the next one, that is dxz. So here these two axes are x and z respectively, and the arrangement of lobes will be like this. So that is about the dxz orbital. Before this we have talked about the yz orbital, so that is about dyz. Now let's move to the next orbital, that is dx square dash y square. This is different from the initial 3 in the manner that in the previous 3 or d orbitals, the lobes were arranged between the axes. Other than this, in this dx square dash y square orbital, these lobes are arranged on the axis, and the arrangement is like this. That's the first lobe, second lobe. These two lobes are on the x-axis, and the rest two lobes are on the y-axis. So when these lobes are arranged on the axis, that is x and y axis, this orbital is termed as dx square dash y square orbital. While if I talk about the next and the last one, that is dz square. So this dz square, it contains only two lobes, and these two lobes are originated on the z-axis. That is the very first lobe of this dz square. That's the second lobe of this dz square, and the next two lobes are not found in this kind of arrangement. They form a circular ring around these two lobes. So that is about the geometry of this dz square, and that is about these 5d orbital. As we can see that this dxz, dyz and dx, here one thing is wrong here, as we have talked about dxz very first, dyz and as the next one, the name of the third orbital is not dxz again. The name of this orbital will be dxy, and here the lobes will be not x and z, since we have seen the arrangement of this dxz initially. So here the lobes are x and y, and the name of this d orbital is dxy. So that is about the 5 orbitals. Out of these 5, initial 3, these 4 lobes are arranged between the axes, while for the last the lobes are arranged on the axis, and that is the difference between these d orbitals. Now if we move to the next one, as we have seen initially that the f subshell, it has the maximum possible values of magnetic quantum numbers, that are 7 values for this magnetic quantum number. Each value indicates one orbital. That is why this f subshell, it contains total 7 orbitals, and these orbitals, they have the name as fyz square. The next orbital is indicated by the name fxz square. The next orbital has the name fz cube according to the direction of orientation. The next orbital has the name fx bracket x square dash y square. The next f orbital has the name fy bracket x square dash y square again. The next one, it's the second last one, has the name fz x square dash y square in the bracket, and the last one, it is indicated by the name fxyz. So these are the name of 7 f orbitals, and since their shapes are quite complicated, they are found in the 3D geometry, so it's too difficult to draw this on this 2D board. So we are not going to talk about the geometry of these orbitals. You can simply learn that these are of complicated geometry. So that is about the magnetic quantum number. Now that we are to see that what is the maximum number of orbitals belonging from a particular shell. So that we have seen in the principal quantum number also that the maximum number of orbitals in a shell, it is given by the formula n square. Like if we are talking about the case shell that has the value of n is equals to 1, the maximum number of orbital that it can contain will be given by n square, that is square of 1. The value will be 1, and we have seen initially also that this case shell, it contains only one subshell, that is s subshell, and s subshell contains only one orbital. Now if I talk about the L shell, the value of n is equals to 2 for this, and the maximum number of orbitals can be given by the formula square of this 2, that is 4. Now as we know that this L shell has the subshell S subshell and P subshell. S subshell contains only one orbital, while just now we have seen that this P subshell, it contains total 3 orbitals. So 3 plus 1, it's total 4 orbital, and that we can prove from this formula also, that total 4 orbitals this L shell will be containing. The next information conveyed by this magnetic quantum number is the maximum number of orbitals that are present in a subshell. So the maximum number of orbitals present in a subshell are given by the formula 2L plus 1. And if I talk about the P subshell here to prove this formula. So for the P subshell, the value of L is equals to 1, and since the value of L is equals to 1, the number of orbitals is the maximum number of orbitals will be equals to 2 multiplied with this value of L, that is 1 plus 1. The total values will become as 3, and we have proved this initially, that this P subshell contains 3 orbitals that are Px, Py and Pz. So that's about the next information, and sometimes these formulas are asked in the objective exams, that what will be the formula for the maximum number of orbitals present in a subshell. Then there you can take the help from these formulas. So that is about the magnetic quantum number. Now the last one that we are to talk here is spin quantum number. So that's about the last quantum number, called spin quantum number. This spin quantum number is designated by the symbol small s. It is the same as we have talked about the s subshell. It was also designated by the symbol small s. This principal quantum number was very first introduced by Goldschmidt. So this was introduced by Goldschmidt. Now this spin quantum number, it indicates the direction of the spin of an electron around its own axis. If there is the clockwise movement or the clockwise spin, it is indicated by the value of spin quantum number s plus 1 by 2, or the anti-clockwise spin, it is indicated by the value of spin quantum number s minus 1 by 2. So the possible range for this spin quantum number, it is plus half and minus half. Only two possible values of spin quantum number are. Now out of these two, this plus half, it indicates a clockwise spin, and this one is taken as conventionally. It is taken as, there is no any specific logic behind this, that why we are indicating clockwise spin with plus half value of spin quantum number. Why not we are taking minus half value for this clockwise spin? It's conventionally taken that this clockwise spin has the spin quantum number value plus half, while this minus half, it is used when we are to represent the anti-clockwise spin. Now if I talk about the maximum number of electrons that are present in an orbital, last time we have seen that the maximum number of electrons present in our orbitals are 2, and these two electrons should be of opposite spin. If I indicate the orbital on the paper by this kind of square, then the maximum number of electrons present in this orbital will be having opposite spin always. No any orbital can contain two electrons with the same spin. So if the one orbital has the clockwise spin, it can be indicated by this kind of half arrow. The another electron must be having anti-clockwise spin, that can be indicated by this kind of half arrow, and these two electrons can be indicated in this orbital by this. And this is the reason that why for a particular atom, no any electron can have all the four same values for the quantum numbers. Like if I say that we are talking about two electrons, and both these two electrons belong from third shell, and they belong from p subshell, and the magnetic quantum number for these two electrons is 0 for both. So since if I talk about the very first electron, that what will be the quantum number for the very first electron? Since it belongs from the third shell, the value of principal quantum number will be 3. It belongs from p subshell, so the azimuthal quantum number value will be 1. Since it belongs from p subshell, and the magnetic quantum number is 0, so it is pz orbital with the magnetic quantum number 0. Now if I talk about the next electron, again it belongs from the third shell, so the principal quantum number will be 3. The azimuthal quantum number will be 1 since it is a part of p subshell. Since it belongs from pz orbital, so the magnetic quantum number will be 0. But since these two belongs from the same pz orbital, we cannot write the same value of spin quantum number. If the very first has the spin quantum number plus half, the next one we have to give the value of spin quantum number for the next electron as minus half. They cannot be same anytime. So that is about the spin quantum number, and this spin quantum, with the help of this spin quantum number, we can say that no any two electron belonging from a same atom can have all the same values of four quantum numbers. They can have the same value of principal quantum number, they can have the same value of azimuthal quantum number, also they can have the same value of magnetic quantum number, but in the spin quantum number there will be variation in the value. So that is about the spin quantum number.